Hello everyone, thank you all for joining us for today's Sage Intacct demonstration. I've got a presentation up, however the idea is to go swiftly onto the demo. I would just like to take a moment to introduce us as a partner and explain what gives us the right to talk about Sage Intacct, and then give a high-level view of what Sage Intacct is. We know that you're coming from different sectors and are in the exploration stage at the moment. So the idea of this webinar is to give you a first good view of what Sage Intacct is, what it can do for you, and then we'll follow up with you individually to see where you are in your journey and discuss what else you like to see that may be more specific for you. So my name is Linda. I'm one of the sales consultants here at Vision33. I'll be working with you to really get to know you and understand your company, your current challenges, and what it is you like to achieve with a new finance system. I'll then help you understand where Sage Intacct fits in. And Hamza is our UK delivery manager and certified Sage Intacct consultant. He's got a rich experience of the software, and he also comes from an accounting background, which means that he'll bring both technical and financial insights to your implementation. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box at any time, and we'll answer these at the end. But it's not just all about the piece of software you are choosing. And even though Sage Intacct is a very user-friendly system to navigate, to make sure you get a successful experience of the software and that you're taking advantage of its full potential, you'll have us here as a business partner that will set up the solution to your needs and business case. But not only that, but a partner who will build a support system around you, who gives you advice and who you can really lean on. So for over 30 years, we at Vision33 have helped businesses just like you with financial transformation, as we call it, to automate your business processes by switching to cloud finance platforms such as Sage Intacct. We're the largest global business partner for Sage Intacct, a Platinum Club member. And this really reflects our high level of partner engagement and also our tried and tested project methodology. We got offices here in the UK, in the US, and in Canada, and you'll work with our central Intacct implementation team. And this means that we have local knowledge as well as expertise from the other countries, which only really adds to the rich pool of resources that we have available for you. We are a privately held company with 2 major shareholders, so we are operating without any external investment. So you can count on a partner with a strong, sustainable business model to be there for you long term. Furthermore, we're also a software developer and a Sage technology partner. And we have built several enhancement applications, for example, a leading integration platform called Saltbox. So this is a middleware that can connect to anything. So if you have any other business systems you need to connect with your finance system, we can do that too for you. So just to show some customer examples here, the reason why I put this up is to demonstrate that Intacct can work in any sector, but also to show that we at Vision33 have experience working across industries. We have customers within, for example, SaaS, hospitality, membership associations, recruitment, retail, regulated industries such as the health sector, non-for-profit, professional and financial services, etc. Lots of different companies come to us seeking help and support with implementing Sage Intacct. So it really doesn't matter which industry you come from or what system you are currently using. We have seen all kinds of different scenarios, and this is really where our experience comes into the picture and will help make sure that you have a smooth transition to Sage Intacct. Well, in terms of the solution, Sage Intacct is what we refer to as the best of breed finance system. It is a modular and flexible finance system that caters for a wide range of company sizes, from small businesses to enterprise level, but to differentiate it with other solutions such as Microsoft, Oracle NetSuite, etc., It gives you far more flexibility on the level you like to start at. And you can choose exactly what you want and then add more users, modules, and capabilities as and when you need it. It's also important to distinguish between Sage Intacct and smaller cloud solutions such as, for example, Xero or QuickBooks, which are closed systems with limited flexibility. Sage Intacct offers an open, extensible architecture that allows custom fields, records, workflows, and seamless integrations. And that gives us, as a certified Sage Intacct partner, the ability to tailor the system to your organization's unique needs, ensuring your finance platform adapts to you, not the other way around. Talking about cloud solutions, Intacct is what we say a true cloud software. In fact, it was one of the first true cloud business systems and born around the same time as Salesforce and NetSuite in 1999. This means Intacct was built as a cloud solution from the ground up with web browser technology, tab functionality, and drill down capability. And all data is in real time, for example. And it's, of course, accessible at any time from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. It's important to make that clear distinction between true cloud and other systems that later moved to the cloud and offer a cloud version of the software. What often happens with these software is that a lot of the functionality you need is only available from the desktop version, which means that you kind of drawn back into that old way of working again with less flexibility and security, upgrade difficulties, and not to forget the added cost of maintaining the hardware service. As a true cloud solution, there are no hidden costs, as all costs are embedded into the solution and shared among all customers, such as hardware maintenance, security updates, hosting, etc. And all software updates happen automatically in the background for Intacct, without any need for you to stop what you're doing or pay extra and get help from a third-party provider to manually install updates. And there are 4 major updates per year, and each release is loaded with technological enhancements. As mentioned before, Sage Intacct can work in any sector and has unique modules and reports that cater for your typical industry vertical. And this is really where its dimensional accounting model comes into play. Hamza will speak more about that, but what it essentially means is that you'll have extra dimensions which you can use to tag transactions for reporting and analysis, and really start slicing and dicing the data to get more in-depth information on, for example, the performance of a particular service compared with another, or compare again with different regions or other segmentation that you may have. And in terms of user adoption, Sage Intacct was really designed for finance professionals, and you'll have an easy to use and intuitive platform to help you with all your daily activities. And that leads me to the customer reviews. Of course, you don't just have to take our word for it. Have a look at G2, which is the world's largest independent peer-to-peer review site for business software, where real users share their experiences. In the latest report, Sage Intacct leads the way across 59 different categories, especially in areas like customer satisfaction and automation. And as you can see here, it also tops the largest category in the UK, accounting software as a whole. What makes this recognition powerful is that it isn't based on marketing claims, but on the real feedback from organizations just like you. And again, due to its architecture and open API, there are many third-party providers that have built enhancements applications and integrated them with Sage Intacct. And you'll find these on the Sage Intacct marketplace. This is really brilliant, as from time to time, there may be an application that would provide that little extra value to you. So we are here on the marketplace with our Saltbox solution, for example, which is our integration platform I mentioned before. And last but not least, I spoke earlier about how Sage and we at Vision33 support you throughout your journey with Sage Intacct. And this doesn't stop after you go live. We at Vision33 will always be here for you. But the idea with Sage Intacct is that you are empowered at any time to self-help within your account. And here you have access to support. You have the Sage user community as well, where users discuss anything about Intacct, really. And there's also a rich resource center called Sage University, where you can find all kinds of learning materials, even longer courses. But as I said, we'll be here to guide and support you and make sure that, for example, you are aware of the new updates that are coming each quarter. You can see here on the screen that they will notify you ahead of each quarterly update and give you the release notes with all the nitty-gritty details, which we can take you through so you really fully understand them. So Sage Intacct also have their own co-pilots, which takes this support even further. Here you'll essentially be able to chat with the system on anything you need help with. It also proactively recommends actions to take by monitoring performance metrics and operational data to suggest to you improvements and identify growth opportunities. And the more you use it, the more it will learn and evolve with your business, ensuring it stays aligned with your changing requirements. Right. That was the end of my section. I will now hand over to Hamza to start the demonstration.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda. Okay, just let me know when you can see the screen, please.
We can see it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Okie dokie, great. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of a walkthrough and demonstration on Sage Intacct. So we can get a little bit of an idea as to how the system works and just on the back of all those bits and bobs that Linda's been taking us through. So I've got a little bit of an agenda today. It's going to be a very high level demonstration, but again, if you want a more in-depth one, you can always reach out to Linda to get one of those arranged. So I'm starting us off here in my test environment here. This is a SaaS company based with mainly predominantly software sales is what they're working on. So it's just a demo environment. It's multi-entity, which means I've got entities all around the globe here and all different currencies as well. So it's working in a multi-currency environment. Now we're going to start off on this dashboard here, which is what I like to call the CFO dashboard. Now this dashboard is a sort of overview as to the entire company. It's a consolidated dashboard in a single currency. So what it's essentially doing is taking all the transactions from all of the different entities in all the different currencies, consolidating it all into, in this case, USD, but you can consolidate into any currency in the world. And it's presenting us back that data again from a high level perspective so we can see what's going on across the globe there in all of our different countries. So right up at the top there, we've got a really nice graph here that shows us our revenue, costs, and net income. And we can see it on a line chart there, and we can see how everything's doing from sort of across the globe there. You can see if I hover over any of the lines, or any of the points, it gives me the figure that makes up that line as well. Everything you see on this dashboard is completely drillable also. So for example, down here, I've got a revenue by location graph. On here, I can see each of my different locations. We can see the USA one location has been performing the best. So if I wanted to drill into that to see what the figures were that make up that number on that graph there, which in this case is 13 million, I could click on it and it would drill in to the report. So it would bring up this report here, and here we can see the figures there from all the different types of revenue, what makes up that number. In this case, it's just set to being all locations. So we can see it sort of across the globe, but equally, anything on this dashboard is drillable. So if I wanted to drill into labor costs, I can click on that and that will bring up the report that makes up that figure. It's popped up in a different screen there, so we'll just pop it over here. But here we can see that the hours, in this case, or the labor costs that make up that number. So it gives us an actual overview as to where those numbers are coming from. So it's a really easy way to sort of have multiple different reports on the same page and sort of just chop in and out and see what's going on in your company. Now, over here on the right-hand side, we've got this graph here, which is a pie chart that says operating expenses by department. Now, departments and dimensions is something that I'm going to introduce to you guys on this call today, which is what Intacct utilizes to really come into its own when it comes to reporting. So in this example here, this is, again, I should mention, a bespoke setup. So departments are defined by you as well as any other dimensions in the system. Now here we can see we've got a couple of different departments. We've got sales, marketing, IT, admin, and services. each part of this diagram here can be drilled into as well. So we can see here we've spent a lot of money, or there's a lot of operating expense in the services department. So if I click on that, it'll actually pull out that section of the pie chart and it'll bring up the report that makes up that number. We'll pop it over here. So this is the report here that makes up that number. And on this report, we're able to see everything that goes into making that number essentially. And everything on here as well that's lit up blue is also hyperlinked. So we can actually click into any of these figures and interrogate them and see where those figures are coming from or why they're so high, as an example. So down here, if I look at my, let's pick one as an example, salary and wages is currently $434,000. If I was to click into that, it would drill in again to the originating journal entries, which will pop over here, to the originating journal entries that make up that figure. Now, again, I can see them all at a sort of consolidated level with all the different currencies, and I could drill in even further if I wanted to. So I could click onto that, and that would drill in even further to show me the actual journal entry that makes up that figure. So you can go right the way down to the core of where that number came from on this dashboard here. And it's a very similar sort of methodology across the rest of this stuff here. So we've got loads of different bits and bobs like the EBITDA and your net income trend, etc., your debt ratio, how much cash you've got, how much working capital you've got. And this is something that, again, would be useful for someone like a CEO or a CFO in the company to be able to come on here once a day or once a week or something like that and just see what's going on without having to jump into every single entity and get reports and run them sort of one by one. So it gives you a really good way of looking at everything. Now, this is great for a CFO, like I said, but what if you're working a little bit lower down in the company where you want to see specific things, like, for example, what's going on in your accounts receivable ledger? We do have loads of other dashboards here as well. Now, again, these are just defined by me. I just created these for the purposes of demo, but equally, you can create as many as you need and you get full training as part of your implementation, which shows you how to create these as well. So you'll be fully skilled on how to create these. But I've got another one here, which is the AR Manager dashboard. So I'm going to drill into that, but for that, I'm going to drop into an entity. Now, today, I'm going to be predominantly working in my United Kingdom entity here. So if I drop into that and go onto the accounts receivable dashboard, which is this, I'm able to see everything to do with this entity, but on the accounts receivable ledger. So here we can see what our AR balance is, what our intercompany receivables are, and what our disputed amount is. We've got some trade detail here as well, so we can see some of the invoices I've got on. And down here, we've got a little bit more in-depth invoice layout, so we can see all the different invoices that have been going on to the system. You've got your custom navigation buttons over here as well. So again, completely defined by you. So I could click onto this and just jump straight to adding a customer, which is opened onto a separate page. But equally, you guys can see that these are fully customizable pages. Everything here is written by me, again, as an example. But yeah, dashboards are very powerful. And again, the dimensional capabilities is where it really comes into its own, which is what we're going to move on to. Now, we're going to pivot slightly and look at some of these dimensional capabilities here as well. So in this system, I'm going to pop back up to the top level. I'm going to jump over to the company module, and under setup, just over here, I'm going to show you guys these cross-company dimensions. Now, dimensions are set up again, as I mentioned, by you guys, so it's defined by you. If we jump into departments here, we can see that our department list looks something like this once it comes up. So we've got sales, services, admin, marketing, and IT. Equally, you could think of these or use them however you want. So if you've got different departments in your company, you can label them as such. You can have as many as you need. And then these all come in handy when you're doing your transactions and then later on in reporting. So we do have other dimensions as well. So you get one called class, which I've renamed to sales type. So because that works better for my company. And then under class, I've got a couple of different examples. So I've got service line 1, 2, and 3, and then small business, mid-sized business. And again, just an example to show you guys. Now, if you are a NFP or if you're working in a charity, you can also utilize the dimensions for your charity purposes. So things like funds, restricted fund, unrestricted fund, etc. You can use them however you want. Now, again, as part of your implementation, we will take you through how to define these. So we'll help you define them and make them work for your company. And again, they come into their own when it comes to transactions and then later on reporting. So if we jump over straight to the entity here and go to accounts receivable, and we'll go ahead and raise a brand new invoice. So I'll jump over to my AR sales invoices, and I'm just going to add a brand new invoice where I am going to select a customer. So in this case, we'll go with Hamza Stationery Shop. And you've got your normal stuff that you would expect to see in an invoice, like reference number and description, etc. So under the description, I could just write test invoice for weekly demo. Awesome. Down here, you've got things like your term, your due date, and attachments if you need. So I'll just go with a net 30 term. Again, this is fully defined by you. So most of the stuff on Intacct is bespoke. So again, you go through a really detailed blueprinting process with us at Vision33, and we'll take you through how Intacct can work for you and how you want it to work. And then it gets defined out and built out for you. So here also, just continuing on from there, we can add an attachment if we'd like. I'm just going to pick one that's in here from before. So we'll just go ahead and add that. And I can actually just click on the paperclip and it will show me what that attachment is, which is popped out onto a different page. I'll just show you guys how it looks. So it pops up like this and shows you the attachments. So one of these is actually a PDF. I could click on that and it'll bring up the PDF that is linked on that actual page there. So we can see that's the PDF, which is just it's like a time report that I added on. But yeah, equally, you can see that by clicking the paperclip. Now, again, Intacct is multi-currency. So in this example, I'm able to select any currency in the entire world. I've only got a few set up in this instance, and I'm going to keep it super simple. We're just going to go with GBP, but equally, you can transact in any currency in the world. Now, Intacct pulls its currency rates from a website called oanda.com, which is a very famous and reputable website. And we have direct currency pairs with Oanda. So the rate is pulled live on a daily basis from Oanda into Intacct for you to be able to use. Okie doke. But again, I'm going to keep it simple. Let's just go with GBP. Now, the account and all this sort of entry information is exactly as you would expect it to be. It should be very familiar to you. Select your GL code or your nominal code, however you like to call it. And then you can pop in your transaction amount. So I'm just going to go with, let's say, 100, in this case, pounds. Here, we've got our department and location, which is two of our dimensions. So I could select sales. So I could say this is part of the sales department, or it was the sales department who made this sale. So I could say that. And then over here, my tax detail, in this case, defaulted itself, but equally, it's fully VAT compliant in the UK. So you've got all your standard tax details that you would expect to see. But also, if you transact in any other tax jurisdictions, Intacct is able to handle those as well. And we can set up taxes in any country in the world. So we can absolutely do that if you need to. In this case, we're using UK VAT or MTD, as some people might know it as, and it's selected a normal 20% rate, which is great. And that gives us a transaction total of £120. But over here where I selected my department, what if I want to be able to put this invoice into a more granular bucket? If I click on this show details drop down, I can see all of the additional dimensions that I have in my Intacct environment. So here's the sales type stuff that we just looked at, where I can say, right, this is part of the sales department, but it's also in mid-sized business. In addition to that, it was a sale made by Mark Maloney. In addition to that, it falls under project contingency planning and so on and so on and so on. So yeah, you can categorize this into as many different categories as you need. And then later on, we can report on this. Okie doke. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. So we're going to go with department sales and we're going to go with sales mid-sized business. We're happy with that. And then when we're ready, we can go ahead and post this invoice. Okie doke. And hopefully we don't get any errors, but in this case we did. Oh, this is to do with the customers I'm selecting. So apologies. Let me just make that change there. It's this here, which defaulted from the project. So let's go ahead and post that now. Should be fine. Awesome. So that posts our invoice straight into the system. And from there, you're able to process it like normal. You can press apply payment when that payment comes in, or send it out directly from the system as well if you need to. Now, the invoice layouts themselves are completely bespoke, so we design them as you need them. This environment has a very basic one set up. Let's have a look at it. If I just press preview, we can see it's just got a very basic setup in here. But again, we can design these to look exactly how you need them to look. It's completely up to you. So there's no sort of upper limit on how these invoices look. Okie doke. Awesome. Now, from there, you get a little bit of a taste as to how dimensions work. Now, if I wanted to report on all my transactions from a dimensional perspective, this is where we pivot back over to the reporting section. So if I go over to my reports and my report center, your Intacct environment will come with a whole bunch of reports straight out of the box. So that'll include things like your balance sheets, profit and losses, expense summaries, operating expense reports, etc., etc. There's loads in here, which you'll just get from standard. In addition to that, you're also going to get 2 financial report writers, which are going to allow you to create as many reports as you need. Again, there's no upper limit on that. And again, as part of your implementation, you will be given full training on how to use those and how to write your own reports. Okey-doke. Now, as an example, if I wanted to run a profit and loss, I've got a profit and loss detail here. I could click on that and I could just press yes, okay, run that P&L. And very easily, I'm able to see a very basic P&L with in this case, it's a 3-month period. So I've got, is it 3 months? No, it's a year on year. So I've got December 2019, then I've got December 2018, and then I've got December 2019, the budget. So this is like an actual versus budget report. It's been adjusted, but I'm going to adjust it again in a second. And you guys are able to see how quickly this is to chop and change around. Okie doke. So we can see here, it gives us our P&L all the way at the bottom, which is great, but this isn't a dimensional report. It's not splitting anything out by department. If I wanted to do that, you do, as I mentioned, also have loads of reports in here which are already pre-configured for you by different dimensions. So we've got a profit and loss here by department. If I click on that and just run this one instead, I should be able to see a profit and loss, in this case by department, and this one also has a year-on-year comparison. Okie doke. So here, if we look, we've got our admin department and then the P&L for the admin department. We've got IT department and the P&L for that. We've got the marketing department and the P&L for that, and so on and so on and so on. Here we have a year-on-year comparison. So that's 2018, that's 2019, and then we have another, it looks like 2081, probably again just testing in the system there. But super easily, you're able to now see the same P&L report, but this time it's split out by department, which is amazing because that gives you a really good insight into more granular level of information really quickly. Okie doke. So if I run this as of today, because I've just posted a transaction today, if we just run this as of today and we press OK, we should be able to see a couple of transactions that we've posted today. So I posted one into the sales department. It looks like there's some other transactions that may have been going in today, but we've got year ended for the sales department. In revenue, we've got £80 in there. All departments, we've got a different figure. That was for 2024, actually. But yeah, easily you can see what's going on. Now, this report is a bit messy. There's a lot going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust it so you guys can see how easy it is to use those financial report writers. Okie doke. So we're going to come out of here and pop back up to the top level and jump over to the report center. And I'm going to go over to the report center here. And I'm just going to find one of these P&L reports. Let's adjust the departmental one. So we'll do profit and loss by department and we'll click edit. Awesome. Now straight onto the column sections. These are all your different tabs in the report right there. But here we can see what's going on. So we had a comparison between prior year, current year, and current month, and all of them were expanded by department. Now that's great, but it's making the report a bit messy for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the actual for current year, and I'm going to remove the actual for current month. And what I'm going to do is just going to have one column where I'm going to say, okay, show me the actuals for the current month and expand by departments. One level down will roll up. That'll do for now. I won't go into that too much on today's call, but again, if you want more info, you can reach out to Linda to arrange a bespoke demo for that. So we'll just do that. Again, just a couple of clicks there, and I'm just going to go ahead and click save and done. And that should be saved. We'll pop back down to the entity here and run it again. This time when we run it, should have a nicer looking, more detailed and concise report, which we do. So now we can see a P&L and it's got, this is the year ended figure, or in this case, it was current month, sorry. So it was current month. And we can see our figures by department for each month in the system there. Now, again, I can just quickly click on filters and run it for a different period. So if I run it as of today, that will show me as of current month today. And we've only posted one transaction in there, which will be making up this figure here. So we can see that that transaction comes straight through. We know it's in the sales department. And then again, if we needed to drill into this, we can click on that and drill into it. So I'll drill into that and just show you guys what we get. This is the report that it brings up. And on this report, you're able to see 2 transactions have gone in, one on the 1st of October and one on the 15th. That's the one from today. And again, I could click into that even further and I could see what actually happened. We can see that it was last modified by me at this time. And this is the double entry that was posted for that invoice. Okie doke. So really quickly and easily, I'm able to chop and change those reports to make them suit how I want them to work. Now, that's great. So you're able to do that sort of whenever you want. And again, you've got those 2 financial report writers in there whenever you need to chop and change those reports, but you're not going to be doing reporting every single day, and you're probably not going to be making reports every single day. What you're probably more interested in is the transactional capabilities of the system and what that sort of looks like from that perspective. So from here, I'm going to pivot slightly back over to accounts receivable, and we're going to go back onto the invoices page here. Now, another really great module that you can get in Intacct, because of course it's a modular system, which means you can just bolt on modules as and when you need them, depending on your company's requirements. So in this case, I have got a couple of invoices that I've posted in the system, and you'll notice on the right-hand side here, we've got this revenue schedules button. Now, a lot of companies these days will need to do some kind of deferred revenue or revenue management where they defer the whole amount of the invoice and they slowly release it or recognize the revenue over a certain period, known as revenue recognition. Okay. Now, Intacct has a bespoke module for that, which I do like to demo because it's very powerful. And we're going to set up an invoice so you guys can see how that would work. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did before, which is Hamza Stationery Shop invoice. And we actually have this button here, which says populate from last AR invoice. And if I click on that, it'll actually bring over everything from the last invoice. And which is really good if you've got repeat invoices going into the system. So it's brought over everything, including the description. So I'm just going to go with test invoice weekly demo 2 in this case. And we'll also add with rubric here. I'm not going to change anything else about this invoice at the bottom, but I do want this £100 to be deferred and then released over the course of 12 months slowly into my revenue code, right? So if I actually click down into my show details drop down again, I have this RevRec section at the bottom. Okay. And then under my RevRec template, I could select whichever revenue template I'd like to use. So I've got one for 12 months and one for 6 months and a couple of others. But let's say I want to defer this for 12 months. And I want to defer it to my deferred revenue account. And I want it to start recognizing the revenue from the 1st of October. And I want it to continue recognizing for 12 months. I don't need to put an end date in because the system will work that out for me. And when I go ahead and hit post now, what it'll do simultaneously as post the invoice is it will immediately defer the revenue. And you can see I've got a revenue schedules button there. So if we actually go back into it, even though this has gone to 40100, the revenue code, it actually hasn't. If I click on posting details, we'll notice that the double entry is actually the deferred revenue account. And back on the transaction, if I click view schedule here, I'm able to see that the system has deferred that £100 and it's created a schedule, okay, starting from the end of October, and it will repeat for 12 equal periods all the way up until the 30th of September 2026. And this is the amount it's going to post month on month until that full £100 has been recognized. Okie dokie. And it's as simple as that. Of course, if you need to edit or terminate these schedules, you do have some options up at the top there, hold, terminate, and edit. So you can manually override any of these things. But apart from that, that's now set up. I never need to think about this again. I don't need to do any manual journals every month or remember to recognize my revenue every month or anything like that. This is set up. I can forget about it forever. And that is probably very life-changing if you do revenue recognition. You've probably got it on an Excel document or something like that, and you have to post journals every month. This will do it all for you, and you don't have to worry about it again. Okie doke. Cool stuff. Alrighty. So pivoting from there onto the flip side of this coin, which is purchasing. So we've looked at sales, we've looked at how to get sales in, we've looked at how to defer those sales as well. Now let's have a look at a purchase order system. Now I'm going to take you through, rather than accounts payable, I'm going to take you through a purchase order system over here in the purchasing module, where you might want to implement in your company a little bit more of a workflow to get your purchases in the system. So if you currently don't have a purchase order system, this is a really, really great solution, because what it allows you to do is create a bespoke purchase order workflow, which allows you to go from things like purchase requisition, purchase order to purchase invoice or goods received note, and so on, right? So again, this is all completely bespoke. So in this system, I've created my own workflows. So we've got quote, order, shipping, invoice, and returns. And over here, if we go to setup and transaction definitions, I'm able to show you guys all the different workflows I've got. Now you'll have to excuse me because this looks a little bit messy here, but I'm going to walk you through it. It's just because I've got too many workflows set up in here for example purposes, of course. But you can, of course, have ones with inventory or without inventory. So if your company handles inventory, if you store inventory in-house, Intacct can handle that for you as well with the inventory management module. And that also gives you a bespoke purchasing inventory workflow where you can start from things like a requisition and go to purchase order inventory, etc., etc. But we're going to keep it nice and simple. and we're going to look at a non-inventory workflow here. So we're going to do purchase requisition. From there, you're able to convert that straight down to a purchase order. From there, we can convert that to a fulfillment, which is also known as a goods received note. From there, we can convert that to a supplier invoice or a vendor invoice if you're American. Again, from there, if we needed to return anything, we have a return option, or if we needed to credit anything, we have a debit memo option. Okie doke. Now, we're going to go through and create a transaction on the purchasing module. So I'm going to start off from purchase requisition. And for this example, I've already created one, which I'm going to run you guys through just for the purposes of showing you the approvals as well. Okie doke. So we're going to look at this one here that says Hamza's new laptop. Now, I went in and raised a purchase requisition. All of the pages for data entry look very similar. Now on here, I went in and raised the purchase requisition, and it was to the Singleton brothers, etc., etc. And this was the term. This was a PDF attachment that I had, which I can click on and see what that was if I wanted to. And then down here, we've got the entries as well. So I wanted one of those, and it's £1,000 each. I went ahead and submitted that, and that went off for an approval. So if we click approval history, we're able to see who it went to. Now, in this case, it first went to a user. In this case, it was Emma. Emma approved it. And then after that, because of the value of the requisition, I have a value approval set up as well. And then it has to go to a value approver, depending on the value, again, defined by you. In this example, I approved both of them, or just overrode and approved both of them. But this is just a very basic example as to how an approval matrix can look in Intacct. So you can have as much of a complex approval or as much of a basic approval as you can. You can have 1 to 10 levels of approval. It's completely up to you. I've just got a very simple 2-step approval in here. One's a user and then one's a value approval. Again, approvals can be quite bespoke as well. So we can do it based on the department. We can do it based on the location or the supplier or the value. So it's completely up to you how you want those approvals to work. But either way, once that requisition's in there and it's been approved, finance can convert that requisition straight over to an order. So a convert button appears here, and from there you can convert it over to an order, which I did, and we ended up with the purchase order here. Now that purchase order, it copies everything over from the requisition, nothing changes. It's just in a sort of the next step in the workflow, and we can see it's been converted from purchase requisition 13, which is awesome. And then from there, if we wanted to, we could actually just send this straight out from here, straight to the supplier for them to fulfill the order. Okie doke. Once that purchase order has been fulfilled, I can convert that purchase order straight to a fulfillment to say that I've received that. Or if I wanted to, I could go straight over to invoice if I don't need to tell anybody that I've received the item. So I went straight to supplier invoice in this example and created the supplier invoice. Again, copies everything over for me. The only slight difference is that I have to add some tax onto this because, of course, it's an invoice. So I added some VAT onto it. That gives us a gross amount of 1,200, and that invoice is now ready for me to pay. Okie doke. And that is an end-to-end workflow from requisition to invoice. And again, just an example of what your workflow could look like with approvals in it. You can have approvals at every stage of the workflow if you need, or just at one stage. And again, it can be completely bespoke. So it can have as many or as little steps in the workflow as you need in your company. All right, cool stuff. Now, let's pivot back slightly over to consolidation and sort of a multi-entity approach of Intacct. Now, as you guys know so far, I have loads of different entities in this company here or in this environment where all of them are in different currencies around the world. Now, for that, reporting can become quite difficult because traditionally what you'd have to do is run a P&L for each company one by one in their respective currencies and then convert those currencies outside of the system in Excel or something along those lines, and then consolidate it together yourself in Excel, which can take a lot of time. And especially when it comes to interentity transactions, it becomes a nightmare. So what you can do in Intacct is you can get the consolidation module, which essentially does all of that for you. Okay. Now in here, I've got a couple of books set up. So I'm going to show you one of these. So let's look at this top one here, which is for global locations. If I click into that, I'm able to see what's actually going on here. All right. So in here, I've set up a book, which basically says take all of the transactions from all of the different entities and convert them to the same currency, which in this example I selected USD. For the balance sheet accounts, convert them using the ending spot rate. For the income statement accounts, convert them using the weighted average rate. And any currency exchange gain or loss, post the net income into there and the net assets into there. Okie doke. From there, I said, I want you to consolidate all of these entities together, which is all of them. I enabled inter-entity auto-elimination, which means any inter-entity transactions will automatically be eliminated by the system for us, which again is life-changing if you're having to do this currently in Excel. This is a massive step. Any elimination adjustments can be posted into this GL code, so later on you can report on them as well. And we can also choose to consolidate all of our dimensions. So we can also do dimensional consolidated reporting, just like we have been doing. We can skip over journals and accounts to override. Straight over to elimination accounts here, we can see that all of these due to and due from accounts are going to be automatically eliminated. I also told the system that I want you to eliminate any intercompany receivables and intercompany payables for me. Okay. Now, running a consolidation is super simple. You just go over to run consolidation. You select the book you want to consolidate and the period you want to consolidate for. You select the checkbox, hit consolidate, and press OK. And that's it. And then you just let it run. All right. So that's currently in progress. It's going to send you an email once it's done. And that is it. That is your month-end consolidated reporting done and complete. From there, you're able to go to the report center and you can run any report in the system on a consolidated format. So if I wanted to run any of these reports, let's just pick a random one. I'll just do profit and loss summary, right? I'm able to run this. Instead of running it on the accrual book for each entity, I can just say run it based on my global location book, which is a consolidated book, and hit OK. And that will show me a consolidated P&L in the currency that I chose straight away immediately at a consolidated level. Okay, literally as simple as that. To run a consolidation, it takes a couple of minutes a month, if that, and you've got your full consolidated report pack, which if you wanted to, you could go the extra mile and you could say more actions, edit schedule, and you could actually set up a schedule here where the system will run the report every month on the 31st, recurrence month, every 1 month at the end of the month, and email it to you or store it in my cloud location like your SharePoint or your Google Drive, wherever you want on its own. So it'll go ahead, do the consolidation, run the report, and send it out to you via email. And you could send it out to your stakeholders, your board members, anybody in the system. You can do this for any report as well. So if you've got sort of lower down reports like AR ledger reports or AP ledger reports that you want to send out, you can have the system just schedule them, run them, and just send them out on its own. Scary thought, I know, but it's a really, really massive step in helping you automate everything you're having to do at a month end at the moment. And that's where the value is going to really come in with Intacct, is lifting all of that heavy load from you and getting the system to do it for you. Final bits from me on today's demo here is cash management. That's the last thing I'm going to cover. Again, this has been a very high level overview here, but yeah, if you need a more bespoke one, you can touch base with Linda on that one. Okay. So I just want to show you guys a bank rec as well and just see what that looks like. Now, of course, Intacct is cloud-based environment. It can connect to any bank that you have, again, depending on the bank, but we're quite good in terms of a bank feed. So we can actually connect a live bank feed from your real life bank account straight into the system. And over here, you can see we've got Intacct and then we've got bank. And then if I click on bank, I can actually see real transactions flowing in from my bank account into the system, which makes it really easy for me to do a bank rec as well. Now, in Intacct, you also have something called bank matching rules, where we can actually have the system just match stuff for you on its own, which means when you go into a bank rec at the end of the month, you shouldn't really theoretically have anything left in there to match. It should mostly be done for you and you can just review it and press reconcile. But matching is as simple as clicking. So we can see here in the bank account, we had a £1,900 payment, in this case dollar, sorry, from Georgia Power Company. I could press match. It'll show me all the transactions on the Intacct side. Here's the one I'm looking for, Georgia Power Company. I can press this one here. The remaining to match is 0. I can press match and that ticks it off the list and marks it as matched. You can see all the transactions I've matched by changing the state. Press apply filters. So we can see these are all the ones that I've matched already. And you just chip away at it until you're happy and the amount to reconcile is 0. And when you're ready, you can press reconcile, and that's job done. Okey-doke. And again, as part of your implementation, Vision33 will be with you for your first month end. So we do your first month end, your first bank rec, your first VAT return with you before we sort of set you away into support. Even after that, your support is us. So we'll look after you from here on out. Cool stuff. That's pretty much everything from me. I will hand back over to Linda.
Thank you so much, Hamza. That was great. So we'll be following up with you individually to hear your feedback, answer any questions, and perhaps even set up further demo sessions if there is anything more you'd like to see that is more tailored to you in your case. So there's plenty of opportunities to continuing exploring Intacct. So until then, thank you all so much again, and see you soon.